What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we have a mixed day over here in the cryptocurrency market. However, we have green price action over here on the XRP price chart. So in this video, we'll spend some time looking at the XRP price chart to see what's going on with the price action. We'll take a peek over here at the Flare price chart. We'll also talk about Ethereum's price chart as we're waiting for it to see if it can crack through that November 10th top or range boundary, as Bitcoin is also stalled out as well. Then the big event that's planned for tomorrow is the release of the CPI data for December and how the market seems to be stalled out waiting for this to occur. So heading over to XRP, as the price continues to march higher after that wick that took place back there on January 2nd. Today, we've crossed through the 50-day moving average. We'll see if that holds. It's now battling itself over there against the December 27th height. We've gone through this quite a few times on crashing structures in here to indicate that as being the bottom. One of the other kind of things that we've done in here is looked at the structure of what happened in here as if we repeated ourselves 3 separate times in here. For XRP, the structure was just the same thing over and over again, but on smaller time frames. This move right here actually does change things in a positive way, because if we look at what happened with XRP after holding on top of these supports, 1, 2, 3, breaks through, backs test the support. Then we head on over here and we see 1, 2, 3, breaks through the support, back tests it. Then we go to an even smaller time frame and look at this one right in here. What do you get? 1, 2, 3, breaks it, back tests it. But for the first time, here we go. We go down, we have our wick, and now we're butting back up against here once again, which in this structure would be a butt back up against here, which in this structure in here would be a butt back up against here. It's like 52 cents. So if we break that one, one would think, hey, we're breaking that one too. Completed Wyckoff accumulation, off and away we go. Of course, it's easy to get overhyped on just the smallest amount of green. I get it in the community. Hey, wake me up when it's, $4, right? I agree, man. 37 cents, not a big number there. But when we spend all this time studying the crashing structure, studying the things that happen, we're cautious up in here. Boom, we end up getting it. Now we're starting to pop our way back up. Just kind of looking to the next levels. And still, the tough thing about XRP right in here, and anything that we know about XRP, and just go look throughout history in here. When the price gets moving, it gets moving fast. So there's really never circumstances in here of where we just kind of creep and grind our way up in anything bullish. It's either all the way, let's go, big moves happening all at once, or it's just teasing us in a range. So a great example to look at in a crashing structure like this is really to look back to the moment of what a lot of you remember, the OGs, is the 22.5 cent time period. So we still have to kind of assume, at least I do, that we're in something like that, which would be this entire range right in here. So in order for XRP to be in breakout, my thoughts would be we've got to clear through with conviction that 41.5 cent level, or else it's very reasonable to assume we could be in here for a little while before the price gets moving. Again, a lot of people will disagree with me on thinking that that's the bottom of the XRP price chart. I do believe it is. I believe we're working on a reversal. Question is, how long is it going to take? And what are the areas that I'm looking at to start getting super excited about? And that's going to really be breaking above the top of the range here at about 41.5 to 42 cents. And so we're not talking about poking it and it being like, oh my gosh, it's like poking it at 42.3 cents. We're talking like if this thing cracks through here, 43, 44, boom, we've broken through the range. We can say that we're done accumulating this range and off and away we go. Otherwise, I do assume we're in something similar to this in here. But I also do assume that was the bottom. And after doing this long enough, I can tell you there still is not a formula that I can see that's going to predict how long this is going to go on for, or the exact thing that's going to happen after here, and how long this can take, or how long this can take. And so we're going to be kind of subjected to that until XRP does what it always does, where it just goes. The price action throughout all of history is like this. It is never a creep out. It is always a break and go. So do believe that's the bottom. Problem is, how long is this going to go? And I learned that from this mistake, right? This is back in 2020. I did believe that was the bottom. All those who were here remember it. We spent 90 days saying 22.5 cents. We ended up hitting 22 cents on the button right in here. I definitely thought we were going to get out earlier, but it definitely took a long time. It took almost the same amount of time down in here that it took us to get down there. So what's the changes I'm making this time is I'm not going to sit there and say, it's going to go right now. It's going to go right now. I definitely think it's the bottom, but we can see how long these things can go on for. But what I can say is I'm certainly excited to see that price action happening in there. This is exactly the things that I look for after we have this moment happen down in here, after we complete these whole structures with 5 waves within wave 5, 6, back up to 4, and then we go on and have 7. Like I've shown on the channel many times, and like I've shown in this video right here back on January 5th of 2021, what a crashing structure does look like, and then how that marks the bottom. Boom, we're moving back up. We're getting back to these levels once again, get through there. We're just starting to show that the price behavior of XRP is now changing from what has been happening the whole way down, and that this was correct. So this is a phenomenal thing to see. It adds more confidence level to me that this was correct. That was the bottom. The thing is, we just know how the prices behave historically. A lot of times we get back up in here and we can waddle until we finally go. So cool to see that for sure. It's good to see that we've taken out that level after repeating the same thing over and over again. This does change all of these. That's phenomenal to see. Just still, it's a patience game to see what's going to happen up here now at about 41.5 to 42 cents. So long as we do get there, because historically, in the crashing structure, that is where we find our resistance, and that is where things have to waddle for a while. So we'll see what happens as we get there, so long as we do. Now, I figure we'll peek at Flare for just a second, since so many people in the XRP community do own Flare or were airdropped Flare. Talk about just massive volatility. I'm only on the 5-minute chart, right? And this is the entire history of the Flare chart with 5-minute candles in here. Just in the last 24 hours, up 45%. Of course, coming off of that, the 24 hours prior to that, negative 37%. So lots of volatility here for Flare as it's still trying to find its value. And again, it's still difficult because a lot of people are getting their airdrop tokens. People are having to decide whether or not they want to sell them or if they're going to be buying more of them. So still just interesting and definitely crazy. There's massive volatility. Today, up 21% over here since the new day began. But we know how volatile these things can be. Like with Songbird just last week went up 100%. Now Songbird is down almost 50%. So definitely a insanely volatile asset to be playing in right now. Those who are nailing their trades are probably making a lot of money, but those who are FOMOing at the top and panic selling at the bottom are probably getting hurt pretty bad in this one. So we'll keep an eye on it. We're almost 48 hours since the airdrop happened, and things have been super volatile. But now we'll peek at the rest of the broader crypto market as we wait kind of for tomorrow. So tomorrow is anticipated to be a volatile day in all markets. So as we know, Ethereum, it's still pressing up against here. Not really liking how long it's taking to do that. Typically, if we're going to get a breakout in here, it should come pretty quick. But we also know there's a big volatile day tomorrow to happen in the markets. That's probably going to set the temporary direction of how things are for the remainder of the week. So Ethereum still just not able to get through that November 10th top over there. Also the same for December 14th right there. We're still just buttoned against it, unable to get through. It does have the feelings that the market is just waiting to see what the data is going to be tomorrow for CPI. Yesterday when I saw this, the forecast was actually going to be 0.1% for CPI. The math on that didn't make sense. In order to get a 6.5 year over year, in my own mind, I'm like, we have to get a 0.0% in order to have a 6.5 year over year. So the market's pricing in zero inflation month over month. If the inflation comes in even at 0.1%, which look throughout history in here, we got lots of these, 1.3%, 1%, 0.3%, 1.2%, 0.8%. If we come in and we print a 0.1, just like we did last month or back in September's reading for August, if we get a 0.1, that is a miss. It has to be 0 or less to meet or exceed inflation expectations. It's kind of funny because yesterday I was looking at Brazil's CPI. I know, random Brazil. but also that they had their inflation start to really turn down right over here once we started having the August readings. So just like the United States, this is just right where we turned over as well. You can see that here, right? Coming off that July reading, boom, the August reading, we go to 0%. Same thing as what happens over here in Brazil. Boom, it goes negative actually. But they just had their reading yesterday. They did miss. They had 0.6% month over month inflation. So I find it interesting to see this modify, which is yesterday, the forecast was 0.1%. Now the forecast is 0.0%. So we'll see what happens. Volatility expected tomorrow. Will we have a shakeout? Will this be the catalyst for breakout? But it seems like the market is really just waiting for that. We were earlier in the week, I was kind of thinking to myself, well, is this thing really going to stall and just wait for that to actually happen? Well, here we are. We're less than 24 hours away from this data to come out, and the market has still stalled here. So we're probably waiting until tomorrow morning. But I think my next video, so when I release a video tomorrow, will be in the thick of a big price move happening, because this data gets released prior to the markets actually opening, which is prior to me recording. I wait till markets to open before I start recording. So I think tomorrow we're going to see some big volatility. Now, why do people care about that? All comes back to the Fed. Again, everybody's worried about the interest rate hikes. Now, they've signaled that they want to raise it by 0.75% throughout the entire year of 2023. Well, in 2022, we saw 4 separate times where they raised 0.75% just in one hike. Remember, they're saying 0.75% for the entire year, which pretty much gives them enough room to like sprinkle in 3 separate 0.25% rate hikes, or 1.5% and 1.25%. Question is, what are they going to do at the next meeting, which comes on February 1st? Looking back at the 10-year Treasury yields, looking at the 2-year yields, we can see that this was the last federal funds rate down here at 3.75 to 4%. They hiked it beyond the 10-year Treasury yield. 10-year Treasury yield still has not chosen to catch up to the new rate that they're at, which is 4.25 to 4.5%. As they raised 50 basis points on their last meeting. That was the first time for them to step off of the 75 basis points. If they were to raise up another 0.25, they then are hiking even further away from the 10-year, hiking above the 2-year. So people are more worried. Are they going to hike even higher to 50 basis points on a really bad inflation report? But I'm looking at these things. I'm saying to myself, look, throughout history, it's unlikely for them to do it because they just don't hike beyond these that far. We have inverted yield curves everywhere, and that usually signals that they're coming to a halt pretty soon. Some of the craziest inversions that you can see out there is, of course, not just this 2-year inverting at the 10-year. You go back throughout history. Anytime you have that inversion that ends up happening, or whenever they get really close to each other, that signals the change. But even just looking at the 2-year, you have the 6-month yield, which is inverted the 2-year yield. Go back and look at that throughout history. When that happened, boom, Fed changes what they're doing. So we're at that point where the 6-month has inverted the 2-year. Not only the 6-month, even the 4-month yield has inverted the 2-year yield. The 3-month yield has inverted the 2-year yield. And when we look back at that, right, that is signaled changing of rates, changing of hikes. Even the 2-month yield has exceeded the 2-year, which just means we have inversions everywhere. These are little time frame stuff. Everybody says, oh, the 2 is inverted the 10, which is the one that we frequently look at in here, is when the 2-year gets beyond the 10-year. So you can buy a shorter term bond and get a higher yield than a longer term bond. That means it's inverted. It's not right. Shouldn't be how bonds work. If you buy something for a longer period of time, you're going to lock your money up for a longer period of time. You should be paid a higher interest rate to do so. However, you can get a higher interest rate on locking it up a shorter amount of time. But you can do it on even shorter amounts of time. That 6 months even pays a higher yield than 2-year. A 4-month pays a higher yield than a 2-year. And even a 2-month pays a higher yield than the 2-year, which of course pays much higher than 5, 10, 20, 30 years. So inversions everywhere. But of course, we're looking at inflation CPI month over month numbers and saying, So I don't know. Like, their communication is 0.75% throughout the entire year of 2023. This is why everybody's panicked about tomorrow's inflation report. So we'll wait until tomorrow morning till we get that and see how the markets open tomorrow. I can almost guarantee it. I can't guarantee anything, but I can almost guarantee it. When I come on tomorrow morning, we will have some big price action happening in the market. The fact that we've stalled out right here and waited this long, it's almost like we're totally waiting for this data to come out. So I'm going to anticipate that probably not the most exciting day out there in the markets today, but it's going to be tomorrow morning where all the wild stuff happens. So good moves in XRP today. Lots of volatility over there in Flare. Ethereum and the markets really stalled out. It seems like it's waiting for tomorrow's CPI print to come out and for volatility to hit the stock market. Barry Silbert came out of the shadows yesterday, posting his first long thread in months. He has been practically silent on Twitter. He's made occasional things here and there. Put a 10-part tweet out there over there on Twitter. I didn't really take a whole lot out of this outside of just kind of saying they want to do good, but not really a whole much of a plan in there. You can read that over there on my Twitter page here at BC Backer on Twitter. Otherwise, we'll wait to see what happens tomorrow morning. Nice action in XRP. We'll see how things go with Flare and get your rest. At least I am, because I think tomorrow is going to be a big day. But all right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.